Hello out there. Those of you who are already on my channel, you already know I'm doing errands. I love to drive, by the way. I like driving. Um, Most people complain about the Atlanta traffic, but when you know how to get around the back roads and whatnot, it's not so bad. Like Sunday is one of those days, and it is a Sunday that I'm filming. One of those days that I get to just kind of meander about. And to me, this place is a sacred place in my car. Uh, so yeah. All right. Um, I was trying to decide how best to tell this story because a lot of people tend to think about spirituality as this kind of like, I don't know, like trying to go to school, right? And you take these leveled things, you do these steps, and next thing you know, you're a guru. And it's not like that. It's like sometimes life shows you what you need to be working on. And this story is kind of like one of those. And I am a 19-year veteran teacher, and I've seen a lot of things. Okay. And I found myself in a situation where necessity required me to up level spiritually to save my students. Okay. And I'm definitely hoping that you can learn from this story. This might be more than one part. I just want to make sure people realize that your spiritual growth can look interesting. And that's the best way I can describe it. All right, so let me give you a background. All right, so yes, I'm a teacher, and I work in a school that we tend to sometimes have two teachers in the room some years, and it just depends on the situation. And at the time, I was in one of those. I still am in one of those, but depending on your credentials, you get certain kind of supports and whatnot or whatever. All right, so I, even though I am a certified teacher, I kind of allowed myself to be a support versus a lead teacher at that time, even though I kind of wanted the position that ended up going to a white woman. I really felt it was important for the sake of the children because I had this background, knowing that certain faces need to be in certain classrooms. People who look like me need to be in front of small children, right? And thought that was super important. So even though I was disappointed that I did not get the position of lead at the time, I continued on being a support. Now, the person who did get the job, they chose a white woman who came from a private school. And I guess they were so in love with her credentials, even though I'd already been working there for at least 3 or 4 years. They saw my work ethic. They saw what I could do. But most of us know who know. Yeah. So they hired a woman of the pale persuasion, and they just liked that she had all of these credentials and things like that. And they kind of tried to sell me on all of that, like, oh well, she's from this school and she's had this experience and she's traveled the world and blah 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 blah. And I was like, okay, yeah. So like I said, I made, and every year I choose to, so you know, I don't get fatigued in my choices. Like every day I choose, but every year I also choose, am I going to be doing this work under these conditions, right? So my choice was to stay that school year, and I was still teaching kindergarten. And I basically knew how to, do this, at this school. Like everybody has a thing, right? everybody has a culture. A school has a culture. So I knew the school culture very well. So this teacher who they hired from a private school, she did not. And she brought in all of her embedded racist ways. And she tried it on me. She definitely tried it on the children. Um, that's me summarizing, basically. All right, so let me get into, I guess, from the beginning. All right, so I met her. She seemed pleasant enough. She was like that typical liberal, and I know you're already saying, wait, how is she racist? But she's liberal institutionally. Okay, she was following the racist rules and didn't have common sense. She was too busy just trying to have a paycheck. Right. Okay. So she was that typical liberal woman in the United States. Like, I want I want feminine rights and this and that. And she had purple hair and all the things and some tattoos. But everybody nowadays in education have tattoos. I have too. But yeah. So she had this whole like persona of righteousness and equality, and she had, and I don't want to, well, I'm just going to ahead and throw it out there. So she married, she was out actually about to get married, but she had divorced a man who practiced Islam. I believe his nationality was Bangladeshi. I believe. Now this is a white woman here, okay? So she had married an Islamic Muslim man from Bangladesh. Don't quote me on the country, but he was definitely brown skinned, okay? And she had divorced him, and now she's going to remarry. So just putting a little bit more context in this is where it gets super nuanced. She thought, and now we overuse the word, she thought she was woke. And this was in 2017. She thought she was woke, okay, because of all of this background. But she just had a lot of biases and prejudices, okay, and she wasn't as woke as she thought she was, okay, because at our school we do practice anti-racism, um, culture and movements and things like that. We've been doing that for years and years and years. It's not new. So all those acronyms that everybody's mad about, we didn't even have acronyms. We were just doing it, doing the work. So anyway, so she thought she was woke, and she saw me. She was like, "Oh, I don't know. She, like, I grew up in the times of the 80s and 90s, and this is where we were first starting to become more integrated. And a lot of the times, I would end up in situations where white people would try to talk black at me, thinking that I don't understand English. She tried some of that. Now, mind you, she was like, what year was that? Okay, so 2017. She said that she had just turned 50 or 51 or something like that. So she was in her 50s, okay, and I was in my 40s. So that was one of the first things that stood out to me. Like, she tried to talk to me in Ebonics and stuff, and a lot of the first, sorry, I'm back. All right, so she wanted to know like what music I listened to, which again, it was just a social thing. But she just assumed like, oh, you listen to rap, or she tried to signal that she is okay. She's an okay person because I listen to rap. I listen to what my daughters listen to. They listen to rap, and then came the conversation of the N word in rap music. Okay, I already, like, knowing me from the get go. If you know me, if you follow me on my channel, please do. If you don't, um, I just don't stand for any of that at all. Like, I don't debate it. I don't I don't want to reason with it. It's like I don't even like people swearing at me or you, and that was another issue too, by the way. So, um if you swear and that's your language, okay, that's fine, whatever, but when you're talking to me, please don't. That's all the things. So, the N word to me is a swear word, okay? So, she tried to make it okay for her to say it because she's singing it in a song, and as you already know, it's like, so I just told her, I was like, look, I didn't try to argue with her about it. I just said, listen, anybody that's using that word is promoting racism. So the end, period, dot. And I left it at that. So that conversation never happened anymore. Okay, because she was trying. She was like, well, they put it in a song and it must be okay. It's like, listen, anybody, I don't care who it is. I don't care. This is me. And you can, and I told her this too. It's like, you can sing the song. I don't care, but I'll just know that you're racist. And then left it at that. So yeah, so that conversation was done. But that kind of set the stage in a lot of ways. It just kind of made me on guard, knowing that this was somebody who had a lot of problematic things going on in her life already. And I don't want to get too deep into it, but I might have to. Um, where, and again, back to that ex-husband, I think a lot of it was with the ex-husband, and a lot, not blaming him, but there's some things going down. But she definitely was an unhealed person, deep in the institutional racism, deep in it. Like, she had no idea. She thought that she was down, like I said, but she really wasn't. She really wasn't. All right, so this is part one of me telling the story of how I up leveled. Like, I felt like I was spiritual at that time before I met her, but no, honey, I had to dig deep once I started to see what I was seeing. And sometimes when we grow spiritually, it comes with bursting through the ground, the dirt, the muck. A seed must push. Okay? Please keep that in mind. A seed must push. Okay? All right, so make sure you like and subscribe. Tune in for part 2 later today. All right, take care. White racist teacher.